What's good? It's Willavelli, bringing you the psychology behind some of the wildest things we enjoy. Whether it's horror movies that make your skin crawl or political drama that keeps you locked in like it's the new season of Power. Ever wonder why we go out of our way to indulge in these extremes? It's not because we like horror or want violence. Nah, it's deeper than that. Today, I'm about to break down why this all ties back to escapism and why our brains crave it. Let's start with escapism. You see, escapism is all about imagining the world the way we wish it was. But don't get it twisted. We're not talking about unicorns and utopias here. The human mind doesn't just dream of peace and happiness, it also wishes for clarity. And when things get messy, when the world feels too complicated, too gray, our brains start craving simplicity. Horror movies and political content, they give us exactly that. They reduce things to the simplest, clearest terms, good versus evil. When you're watching Freddy Krueger hunt down teenagers, it's obvious who the villain is. There's no moral gray zone there. It's survival. And that's what makes it weirdly satisfying. Here's the wild part. Most of us don't want real life violence or suffering. We don't watch horror or doom scroll political news because we love seeing bad things happen. We watch because these forms of media scratch a deeper itch. They offer us the fantasy that the world can be simplified. In a horror flick, the monster is the monster, nothing else. And defeating it means good wins, evil loses, end of story. Now compare that to real life. How often do we get that kind of clarity? Think about the people you deal with every day. Bosses, family, friends. Are they always good or bad? Rarely. They're complicated, right? But horror lets us pretend, even just for a moment, that life is simple. Political content works the same way, just with a different mask. It gives us a version of the world where the other side, whoever that is, becomes the villain. The news, especially in this era, has learned to frame things with the same structure as a horror movie. You got your monsters, your saviors, and your fight to survive. Whether it's the government, a corporation, or a politician, it's all reduced to a good guys versus bad guys narrative. And what does that give us? Comfort. Not in a happy sense, but in the sense that life makes more sense. It makes the overwhelming complexity of modern life easier to digest. It's wish fulfillment, not for violence, but for the fantasy that evil can be easily identified and confronted. Escapism isn't just about avoiding reality. It's about bending it into something we can manage. Horror and politics take that messy, confusing thing we call life and condense it into a black and white story. And the truth is, we need that sometimes. Not because we wish for horror or chaos, but because we wish for the kind of clarity that makes it easier to know what to do, who to trust, and how to survive. But here's the thing, real life will always be more complicated than a movie or a news segment. Escapism is like taking a break, hitting the pause button on reality. It can help us recharge and give us a sense of direction. But we gotta remember to come back to the world with a clearer head. Not everything fits neatly into good versus evil. And that's okay. What horror and political narratives remind us is that even though life is complicated, we can still find moments of clarity, and sometimes, just sometimes, that's enough.